A lot of hand-wringing tonight from the media. That's tasked, of course, when it comes to covering Donald Trump and the new rules and the new fears that, in effect here, President-elect may be declaring war on the press. First, it came this shot from Mr. Priebus, head of the RNC and the incoming chief of staff for the Donald, talking about making changes to the White House press room as well as daily briefings.
Even looking at things like the daily White House briefing from the press secretary, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that things can be done, and I can assure you we're looking at that.
What are the plans for the press corps and that traditional approach?
And I hate blowing things off because I'm not doing it on purpose. Just so happens that we're actually talking about those things right now, and what the new tradition, I guess you could say, should be in the Trump White House. You know, this was the first front row assigned seat issue, as I understand it, started in the Obama administration. The Bush administration just took a seat, and I guess there were a couple people that have had reserved spots, but for the most part, the more formalized reserved seating piece came in over the last 8 years. That issue is being talked about. The point of all of this conversation is that the traditions, while some of them are great, I think it's time to revisit a lot of these things that have been done in the White House, and I can assure you that change is going to happen.
Only Priebus got some of the facts there wrong, as noted by the White House Correspondents Association. Their president noting in a statement that, quote, there was a notable factual error in what Priebus had to say. News organizations have had assigned seats in the briefing room since those seats were installed in 1981. And just as a little history lesson, that was not an Obama-era innovation, as Mr. Priebus suggested. That actually happened in the Reagan years. The WHCA assumed responsibility for assigning the seats in the briefing room over the last 2 decades as a result of both Republican and Democratic administrations who were mindful of the potential appearance of playing favorites if they assigned the seats themselves. Later, Trump once again attacked a media outlet he doesn't like, posting on where else but Twitter his dislike of the magazine Vanity Fair, writing, "Has anyone looked at the really poor numbers of Vanity Fair magazine? Way down, big trouble, dead. Graydon Carter, no talent, will be out." That attack coming one day after the magazine posted this article entitled, "Trump Grill Could Be the Worst Restaurant in America," and it reveals everything you need to know about our next president. So, a president-elect who could not find the time to work and announce how he's going to prevent massive business conflicts of interest, as was scheduled today, had all the time to read a negative piece in Vanity Fair about his restaurant, then tweet a response. Oh, and Trump's hatred of Vanity Fair editor Graydon Carter, that goes back decades here. Again, in his tweet this morning, Trump not only attacked the magazine, which I think is one of the best magazines there is, period, he also specifically mentioned and attacked Carter, something he has done at least 6 times now in the last few years, calling him sloppy, a loser, a real loser, not just a loser, and criticizing Carter's own restaurant. So, why all the hatred? Well, here's a little background, and again, you can't make this stuff up. Carter thinks it goes back to in the late 80s. As editor of the satirical Spy magazine, Carter called Trump a short-fingered vulgarian. That's where the Trump small hands joke originated from. And again, the vulgarian comments came because they had to move someone's seat, a female model who was sitting next to Trump, who in tears reportedly went to Carter, "Please move these guys' hands all over me under the table." Again, you can't make this up. One more note here.
That's not Bulgarian. He's Romanian.
Vulgarian.
Oh.
Thank you. Good to pay attention. That would be Richard Brodsky. All right, let's bring in the table right now here, and let's get right to it. You have the aforementioned Mr. Brodsky, former New York Assemblyman, and also senior fellow at Demos, professor at NYU. He knows all about the difficulties of life with small hands. I kid. Dominic Carter, political journalist, author, no stranger to vulgarities. Bill O'Reilly, former Republican strategist who's now a member of the Conservative Party and is far too nice a man to insult in this venue. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent, who is nowhere near too nice a man to insult. All right. Now, before we get to all the jokes about, this is news, Dominic, in that there's a reason why there's a press corps. There's a reason why there's a pool. There's a reason, I know people don't care about our problems, but there's a reason why there's not you don't give it to the president or whoever it is to decide who gets to sit where. It's our job, isn't it, to challenge authority, to ask the uncomfortable questions, to get to the truth, because the last time I checked, he works for the American public. The administration was elected by the public to work for the people. This relationship getting turned on its ear, it's not just tradition for tradition's sake.
Richard, let me translate what Mr. Priebus was really saying in that interview.
Oh, don't.
All, all,
Don't do it.
don't family
It's a
show.
family show.
All hell is about to break loose when it comes to media-president relations. Now, to your point, and it's a point that's dead on. Let's just say, for argument's sake, I'm assigned to the White House, and Trump doesn't like me, and I don't like him, and I'm asking him dead-on questions each and every day. If you remove me from the first row and put me in the third row, all of a sudden the White House mics, when you're on live, Mr. President, won't be able to pick that up as clearly as if I'm in the front row. So if I'm now in the third row, Mr. President just, and this has happened
That's even
to
if
me
you get
before.
called up.
That's right. That's another big exception. Even if you're anointed to be called on, but if you're in the front row, as I used to do, you just keep yelling where they can't ignore you anymore. And that's what I would literally do. But if you're in the third row, no, literally, ask Rudy. He'll tell you.
You're still doing it.
Oh, I'm still doing it?
I do recall that.
Okay,
Go ahead.
okay. And so when you're in the front row and you just keep yelling, how's he going to ignore the black guy in the front that won't stop talking that's yelling? And you're the mayor of New York
619,
City.
52nd Street. All right.
Best example of this that I can think of. Remember Bridgegate, right after the Bridgegate thing broke? Chris Christie hadn't been on trial. There hadn't been any compilation of evidence, but he got asked the question at a press conference, and he doubled down. He's like, I was there. I was putting out the orange cones. He lied to the people of New Jersey in that moment. And it's not on the record, it's not, in a court of law. It's not like he's going to be tried for that. He can't be.
But it changed the whole dynamic.
It
from
changed
that
the whole
day on.
dynamic because you make statements, and the point of the press corps is to put the executive on record with his statements as to why things are happening, so that you
What
can
do they
judge it
think?
afterwards.
What do they think?
Fantastic
This is genius.
Yes.
He's going to take away your health insurance. He's going to take away your air quality, but he's going to kick the stuffing out of reporters in the White House. And you think
Who can't then ask him about taking away their
And the
health care and
public's
taking
gonna
away their
bingo.
good air?
love it.
Yeah.
And this is consistent with his entire modus operandi. He's going to do it. You people, sorry,
Okay,
Donovan,
yeah, but
should
Richard,
get used to it.
you
careful.
among your many faults, do know your history, though. What is that famous expression about the guy with the barrel of ink?
He doesn't go away. He gets to print every day, and you get. It's true. This is different. He's not going to play by conventional rules. It's one thing when Dominic rails at Bill de Blasio. It's another thing when you rail at Donald Trump, who embraces this.
I would love to have the
But
opportunity.
it's great politics. The media is changing. Who cares where Sam Donaldson was here, Kathleen McCarthy's here, whoever goes where? That doesn't really matter. If the public hears that he's feuding with the press, a lot of the public is loving this.
But here is the one thing. While the press may be fractured and it might be different and people may consume it and no one gets their hands dirty with the ink stains because they don't read the hard paper anymore, he has managed to actually unite the press in one regard. Because better than anybody at this table, conservatives still haven't bought into Trump. Right. And there's a lot of things he said that they're not comfortable with too. I found it very interesting that Paul Ryan sat down and spent a lot of time with the media today, the same day that all this comes out that Trump's going to war with him. Because they know it's when, not if. They're going to go to war with the president-elect. So they have united interests. Where I'm getting at is, today, press is banging on Russia. We're going to be talking about it in a minute. Press is banging on access. Press is banging on conflicts of interest. This will multiply even more so than a common president because he's made a common enemy. And to me, you can't win this way.
The thing is, though, and I'm
You
being
can win for the week. I
I'm
don't
being
think you
light
can
about
win.
it because I have to be. But the thing is, you could have all this news coverage that day, and Trump knows that with a single tweet and all the followers that he's got, he can change the conversation any second at any time.
You're right.
You could have the most serious story
Short
about
attention
Russia.
span theater, if he's proved one thing,
It's a
that's
different
where we
world.
are. We're like fruit flies. We go to the latest thing, and he's a master at it. And I'm not minimizing it. But there's a real danger. Yeah, fruit flies. Short lifespan, short attention span.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Drophila.
Are you still
Drosophila.
hungry now? Okay, instead of
I'm still on
Hungarian, instead of
Bulgaria.
Hungarian. Yeah, okay. So, but again, there's a day. How about the pool? How about the idea of a pool feed, Andrew? How about not being able to follow the president or let him tell you where we are? No, but there's real practical reasons for it. It's not just because we have thin egos.
He's delegitimizing the press, and it's working.
That's
Sorry.
the bottom line. Unfortunately, Richard, remember, I can't call him an accidental president because he won fair and square. But this is really a guy that should have never been elected president of the United States. And I'm saying this objectively. We're all going to pay for this, us more than the regular public, over the next 4 years. He is going to torture the fourth estate. He's going to enjoy every second of it, and he's going to get away with it.
I will tell you all, and I'll take bets from all of you. This can't last. Because,
Watch.
Well, watch. You would have said a week ago if I told you that the Russia story, it was a blip, he'll change the subject. Everybody's focused right now, and now the reports are tonight that Putin most certainly had his hand in with what's going on.
But
The idea that the story goes away because he doesn't do a press conference is farcical.
You
This
say
stuff will
you say
persist.
everybody's focused on it, but have you been on Breitbart? Have you been on Red State? Have you been on these?
But Andrew, how much does that represent of the country?
It's enough to.
No, it doesn't represent 50%.
It's representative
Doesn't even
of
represent
it's the
40%.
representative of the base of his support. The rest of it is all political calculations and who's going to give along to go along so that they can get their agenda, they can get their tax cuts through Congress. They'll keep supporting Trump as long as they can do that.
If you think the conflict of interest goes away just because he's changes the subject to go after the media, and you don't think prosecutors,
only the law-
attorney
only the
generals,
law will change it.
law will be all
Only the
over
law.
this.
70% of
Yeah.
people in a poll this week said they don't care about the conflict of interest, that they
Do you
knew
know what
that he
his
was a
approval
businessman
rating-
when he was
Andrew,
running.
if I believe what you're saying, he should have the highest approval ratings we've seen in recent memory. Conversely, his approval ratings compared to where Obama was 8 years ago are 20 points off.
But you're shifting the goalposts.
But
You're
he's-
talking,
what?
you're
You're
talking-
saying how much
you're
he's
talking,
wrong.
you're talking
But
about the conflict of interest being his downfall, and I'm saying 70% of people, and that's not just his
Downfall
people who
with
voted
guys
for
like
him,
us.
don't
The
have a
Washington
problem
Post added
with
a
it.
whole new investigative team here. The Times as well. They're selling more papers as a
But
result. He's good business
But
for
he's
us.
proven that he can endure any news cycle. Unless there's illegality, he can endure
Inside
any
Hollywood.
news cycle.
To survive that.
Coming up next here, I mentioned thank you with Bulgaria, but we'll instead pivot to Russia. And we will have one of my favorite experts on the subject on what is actually going on when it comes to Trump and Russia. He's appointing people who are friendly to that country here, and there's that whole hacking thing. We'll dig into all that after this.